The night looked
Excuse me, is
perfect.
this the main
Bright
path?
lights
Yes,
covered
it is.
the
You can't
entrance
miss it.
of
Are
the
you
Grand
lost?
Royal
A little.
Hotel.
Thanks for your help.
Expensive cars stopped one after another. Cameras flashed as rich guests walked inside, smiling and laughing. It was one of the biggest charity events of the year. Business leaders, celebrities, and journalists were all there. And tonight, everyone was waiting for one person, Angela Carter. People called her a self-made millionaire. 10 years ago, she had nothing. Now she owned companies, buildings, and charities. Many people admired her story. They said she was strong, smart, and unstoppable. When Angela stepped out of her car, the crowd turned toward her. She wore a simple but elegant black dress. Her confidence filled the air. She smiled politely as cameras flashed around her. From the outside, her life looked perfect, but inside, something always felt unfinished. Angela walked into the hall, greeting important guests. Music played softly. Waiters moved between tables, serving drinks. Everything felt normal until one moment changed everything. Angela stopped walking. Her smile disappeared. Across the room, near the corner of the hall, a man stood holding a tray of glasses. He wore a simple uniform, his head slightly lowered as he worked quietly. Angela's heart suddenly beat faster. She knew that face. Even after 10 years, she could not forget it. Marcus, her ex-husband, the man she once loved more than anyone. For a moment, the noise of the room faded. Angela could only see him. He looked older now. Life had left marks on his face, but his calm expression was the same. There was no anger, no bitterness, just quiet focus. Angela felt something heavy in her chest. Memories rushed back. A small apartment, late-night conversations, dreams shared between two people who had nothing but hope. Marcus working long hours so Angela could study. Marcus telling her again and again, "One day, you will make it." She had made it, but not with him beside her. 10 years ago, everything had fallen apart. Success came fast, and with it came pressure. New friends, new expectations, people who told her she deserved more. People who said Marcus did not belong in her new world. Arguments became normal. Silence replaced laughter. And one night, Angela walked away. She told herself it was the right decision. She told herself love was not enough. But seeing him now made those old reasons feel weak. Angela watched him carefully. Did he notice her? Did he recognize her? Marcus looked up for a second. His eyes passed over the room and stopped on her. Time froze. For a brief moment, their eyes met. Angela felt her breath catch. But then Marcus looked away. He turned calmly and continued serving drinks, as if she were just another guest, as if she were a stranger. The reaction shocked her more than anger would have. No questions, no emotions, nothing, just distance. Angela felt something she had not felt in years, guilt. The people around her continued talking, laughing, celebrating. But Angela could not hear them anymore. Her mind stayed in the past, searching for answers she never asked before. Why was he working here? What had happened to his dreams? And why did it hurt so much to see him like this? A voice beside her pulled her back to reality, but Angela barely responded. Her eyes kept moving toward Marcus again and again. She told herself she should ignore it. The past was over, but her feet slowly moved forward. Step by step, she walked through the crowd toward him. Maybe she just wanted to say hello. Maybe she wanted closure. Or maybe she wanted to know if he ever hated her for leaving. Marcus turned slightly as she approached. Angela opened her mouth to speak. But before she could say a word, Marcus politely nodded, the same way a worker greets a guest, and walked past her without stopping, without saying her name, without looking back. Angela stood frozen in the middle of the crowded hall. For the first time in many years, the millionaire who had everything felt completely powerless. And deep inside, she realized something frightening. The past she thought was finished had just begun again. Angela could not sleep that night. The charity event ended hours ago, but Marcus's face stayed in her mind. The way he looked at her, or rather, the way he didn't, disturbed her more than she wanted to admit. She had faced business failures, public criticism, and tough negotiations, but this felt different. This felt personal. She sat alone in her large apartment, looking at the city lights outside her window. Everything she once dreamed of was now hers. Money, respect, success. But tonight, none of it felt important. Her mind slowly traveled back 10 years. Back to a small apartment where life was simple but warm. Angela and Marcus were not rich back then. They struggled to pay bills. Sometimes they shared one meal to save money. But they laughed often. They believed in each other when no one else did. Marcus worked long hours at different jobs. He came home tired, but he always asked Angela about her dreams. He pushed her to study more, to take risks, to believe she could build something bigger. "You're meant for more," he used to say. Angela believed him. Where her first business idea failed, she wanted to quit. Marcus sold his old motorcycle to help her try again. He never complained. He never asked for credit. He only wanted to see her succeed. And slowly, things started to change. Angela's business began to grow. She met new people, investors, business owners, wealthy friends. They admired her ambition. They invited her into a different world, a world Marcus did not fit into easily. At first, Angela defended him. But over time, small comments started to affect her. "He's too simple for you. You're moving forward, but he's staying behind. You can't carry someone forever." The words stayed in her mind. Marcus noticed the change. He tried to support her, but the distance between them grew. Angela became busier. Meetings replaced dinners. Phone calls replaced conversations. Arguments became frequent. Marcus wanted time together. Angela wanted progress. One night, after a long argument, everything broke. Angela accused Marcus of holding her back. The words came out in anger, but once spoken, they could not be taken back. Marcus went silent. He did not shout. He did not argue. He only looked hurt. That silence made Angela even more frustrated. The next morning, she packed her things and left. She told herself it was necessary. She believed success required sacrifice. Love, she thought, was something people lost along the way. Marcus did not try to stop her. He only said one sentence before she walked out the door. "I hope one day you get everything you're looking for." At that time, Angela thought she had one. Years passed quickly after that. Her business grew. Her name became known. Interviews, awards, and success filled her life. People praised her strength, but no one knew how often she avoided thinking about the past. Until now, seeing Marcus again opened memories she had buried for years. The next day, Angela asked one of the event organizers about him. She tried to sound casual, but her curiosity was obvious. She learned that Marcus had been working different jobs for years. No sin permanent, nothing glamorous. But there was something else. The organizer mentioned that Marcus spent most of his free time helping people in his old neighborhood. He volunteered at shelters, helped kids with schoolwork, and fixed homes for families who could not afford repairs. He never talked about it publicly. He never asked for attention. Angela felt confused. This was not the image she had created in her mind. She expected resentment, failure, bitterness. Instead, Marcus seemed peaceful. That realization made her uncomfortable. Because for the first time, Angela wondered something she had never allowed herself to ask before. What if she was the one who lost something valuable? Later that evening, Angela sat in her office, staring at an old photo she had not looked at in years. It showed two young people smiling in front of a small apartment, full of hope. She touched the edge of the photo, slowly. Back at the charity hall, Marcus had acted like she was a stranger. And somehow, that hurt more than anger ever could. But Angela still did not know the biggest truth. The reason Marcus never tried to stop her. And the secret he kept hidden the night she left. A secret that would soon change the way she saw her entire past. Angela tried to return to her normal routine. Meetings filled her schedule. Assistants brought reports. Phones kept ringing. On the outside, everything looked the same. The successful millionaire was back in control. But inside, something had changed. Her thoughts kept returning to Marcus. The calm look on his face. The way he walked past her without anger. Without need. Without regret. Angela did not understand it. For years, she believed Marcus would struggle without her. She believed she had moved forward while he stayed behind. But what she saw at the charity event did not match that story anymore. So, she started asking quiet questions. Not publicly. Not directly. She told herself she was only curious. A few days later, Angela drove to the neighborhood where she and Marcus once lived. The streets looked smaller than she remembered. The buildings were older, but the memories felt alive. She parked her car a little far away and walked slowly, hoping no one would recognize her. That was when she saw him again. Marcus stood outside a small community center, laughing with a group of children. He was helping them carry boxes inside. His clothes were simple, but his smile looked real, the kind she had not seen in years. Angela watched from a distance. No cameras, no rich guests, no applause. Yet people greeted him with warmth and respect. An elderly woman hugged him. A young boy ran toward him excitedly. Someone thanked him for fixing their broken roof. Marcus only smiled and said, "It's nothing." Angela felt something tighten in her chest. She remembered how he used to help neighbors, even when they had little money themselves. Back then, she thought it was kindness. Now she realized it was part of who he was. Later, Angela spoke with one of the volunteers at the center. The woman did not know who Angela was. She simply spoke proudly about Marcus. "He helps everyone," she said, "even when he has problems of his own." Angela asked carefully, "Does he ever talk about his past?" The woman shook her head. "No, he doesn't like talking about himself." That answer stayed with Angela. On her way back home, silence filled the car. For the first time, Angela compared their lives honestly. She had money, influence, and recognition. Marcus had something different. People trusted him. That night, Angela opened old emails and photos she had saved but never revisited. She saw messages from Marcus encouraging her before big meetings. Messages telling her not to give up. She realized something painful. Marcus had always believed in her success more than she did. And when she left, he never tried to take credit for anything. Days passed, but Angela's curiosity only grew stronger. She continued asking small questions through people who knew him. Then one answer surprised her. Someone mentioned that years ago, Marcus was offered a partnership in a small construction company. The business later became very successful. If he had accepted, he could have been wealthy today. Angela frowned. Why didn't he take it? The man shrugged. He said he had something more important to deal with at that time. Angela felt uneasy. The timing matched the year they separated. That night, she could not stop thinking about it. What was more important than a chance to change his life? The next evening, Angela returned to the community center again. This time, Marcus noticed her standing nearby. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Marcus nodded politely, the same distant expression on his face. No anger, no words, just acceptance. And somehow, that distance hurt Angela more than rejection. As she turned to leave, she overheard two volunteers talking quietly behind her. One thing about Marcus. One of them said he always chooses other people over himself, even when it costs him everything. Angela stopped walking. Those words echoed in her mind, because suddenly a frightening thought appeared. What if Marcus did give up something important because of her? Angela walked back to her car, her heart heavy with questions. She thought she already knew their story, but now it felt like she had only seen half of it. And soon, she would discover a truth that would change the way she remembered their entire marriage forever. Angela could no longer ignore the feeling growing inside her. For days, one question stayed in her mind. Why did Marcus give up that business opportunity? Everyone she spoke to said the same thing. He had a real chance to become successful, maybe even wealthy. But he walked away without explanation. And the timing matched the year she left him. Angela tried to focus on work, but her thoughts kept returning to the past. Meetings ended without her remembering what was discussed. Numbers on reports stopped making sense. For the first time in years, success felt distracting instead of satisfying. She needed answers. One afternoon, Angela visited an old contact from her early business days, a man who had once worked closely with both her and Marcus. At first, he hesitated to talk, but after a long silence, he finally spoke. "You really don't know, do you?" he asked quietly. Angela felt uneasy. "Know what?" The man sighed. "Marcus never wanted you to find out." Angela's heart began to beat faster. Years ago, when Angela's company was still new, a serious financial mistake almost destroyed everything. An investor was ready to pull out. If the news became public, her reputation would have been ruined before her career even started. Angela remembered that time clearly. Somehow, the problem disappeared quickly. She believed it was luck, but it wasn't luck. Marcus had stepped forward and taken responsibility for the mistake, even though it was not his fault. He allowed people to believe he made the error. Because of that, he lost the chance to join the construction business partnership. No one wanted to work with someone they thought was financially careless. Angela felt the air leave her lungs. Why would he do that? She whispered. The man looked at her with quiet understanding. Because he believed in you. He said your future mattered more. Angela could not speak. Memories suddenly felt different now. Moments she once misunderstood began to make sense. Marcus working longer hours. Marcus looking tired but saying nothing. Marcus refusing to explain when she accused him of not trying hard enough. He had protected her and never told her. Angela left the meeting in silence. The city around her felt louder than usual, but inside she felt completely still. For years, she believed she succeeded alone. Now she realized someone else had carried part of that weight without asking for recognition. That night, Angela sat alone in her living room. The awards on her shelves suddenly looked different. Each success reminded her of something she never saw before. Marcus standing quietly in the background, supporting her without needing credit. Guilt slowly turned into regret. The next day, Angela went back to the community center. She found Marcus repairing a broken door. He looked up when she approached, his expression calm but distant. "Marcus," she said softly. He stopped working but did not smile. "Yes." Angela struggled to find words. "How do you thank someone for a sacrifice you never knew existed?" "I heard about what happened back then," she finally said. Marcus's expression changed slightly, but only for a moment. He looked away and continued tightening a screw. "It was a long time ago," he replied simply. "That was your future," Angela said, her voice shaking. "You gave it up." Marcus paused. Then he shrugged gently. "You needed it more." His calm answer hurt more than anger would have. Angela realized he truly expected nothing in return. No apology. No recognition. He had already made peace with the past. But Angela hadn't. She wanted to say she was sorry. She wanted to explain how wrong she had been. Yet the words felt too small compared to what he had done. Marcus finished his work and stood up. "You don't need to carry this," he said quietly. "We both made choices." But Angela knew the truth. Some choices could not be undone. As Marcus walked away to help someone else, Angela stood there watching him. For the first time, she understood why people respected him so deeply. He had lost opportunities but never lost his character. That evening, Angela made a decision. If Marcus would never tell the truth himself, then maybe she should. A large charity gala was coming next week, one where she would be the main speaker. And this time, she was not planning to talk about business success. She was planning to tell a story no one expected. A story that could change everything between them, forever. The night of the charity gala arrived quickly. The Grand Royal Hall looked even more beautiful than before. Golden lights reflected from crystal chandeliers. Important guests filled the room: business leaders, reporters, investors, and social figures. Everyone was waiting for Angela Carter's speech. She was known for powerful talks about success and hard work. People expected another inspiring business story. But tonight was different. Angela stood backstage, holding her speech notes. Her hands were slightly shaking. She had spoken in front of thousands before, but this felt harder than any business deal she had ever faced. Because tonight was not about success. It was about truth. Across the hall, Marcus worked quietly again, helping staff prepare the tables. He did not know Angela had asked the organizers to invite him personally. To him, it was just another job. He avoided looking toward the stage. Angela took a deep breath as her name was announced. Applause filled the room as she walked onto the stage. Cameras turned toward her. Smiles surrounded her. Everything looked normal, but Angela's expression was serious. She looked at the crowd for a long moment before speaking. "People often call me self-made," she began slowly. "They say I built everything alone." The audience nodded, expecting a familiar story. Angela paused. "But tonight," she continued, "I want to tell the truth." The room became quieter. Angela spoke about her early struggles. The small apartment, the fear of failure, the nights when she almost gave up. Her voice remained calm, but emotions slowly entered her words. Then she said something no one expected. There was someone who believed in me before anyone else did. The audience listened carefully now. Angela's eyes moved across the hall until they found Marcus. He froze when he realized she was looking at him. He worked harder than me, Angela said softly. He sacrificed his own future so mine could survive. Whispers spread through the room. Marcus shook his head slightly, uncomfortable with the attention. He tried to step away, but people around him were already turning to look. Angela continued. For many years, I accepted praise that did not belong only to me. And tonight, I want to correct that. She raised her hand gently toward the back of the hall. Marcus, please come here. The entire room turned. Marcus stood still, unsure what to do. This was not his world. He did not like attention. But the organizers encouraged him, and slowly, reluctantly, he walked toward the stage. Every step felt heavy. When he reached the stage, he avoided looking at Angela. His expression remained calm, but his discomfort was clear. Angela faced the audience again. This man, she said, her voice steady, is the reason I never gave up. When my business almost failed, he protected my name instead of his own. He lost opportunities because he believed in me. The hall went completely silent. Some guests looked shocked. Others looked moved. Cameras focused on Marcus, who looked overwhelmed by the sudden attention. He quietly said, "You don't have to do this." Angela shook her head gently. "Yes, I do." For the first time, her voice softened. "I spent years thinking success meant moving forward alone. I was wrong." The moment felt real, honest, vulnerable. Then Angela did something no one expected. Instead of offering money or a business position, she stepped back from the microphone and handed Marcus the award meant for her that night, the Humanitarian Leadership Award. Gasps filled the room. Angela smiled slightly. This belongs to someone who helped people long before anyone noticed. Marcus stared at the award, speechless. He never wanted recognition. He never asked for it. The applause slowly began, then grew louder, filling the entire hall. People stood up, clapping not for wealth or power, but for quiet sacrifice. Marcus looked at Angela, confusion and emotion in his eyes. This was not an apology made in private. This was respect given in public. But even as the applause continued, Angela knew something important. This gesture could not change the past, and Marcus still had a decision to make, one that could take him far away from her life forever. As the lights shined on the stage and the crowd continued clapping, Angela realized the hardest part of the story had not happened yet. Because forgiveness was not the same as getting someone back. The applause slowly faded, but the moment stayed heavy in the air. Marcus still stood on the stage, holding the award as if it did not belong to him. The bright lights made him uncomfortable. He was not used to attention. For years, he had lived quietly, helping people without expecting anything in return. Angela stepped back, giving him space. She knew this moment was no longer about her. Marcus looked at the audience, then at the award in his hands. His expression was calm, but his eyes carried emotion he tried to hide. "I don't really know what to say," he said finally, his voice simple and honest. "I only did what I thought was right." There was no pride in his words, only sincerity. The audience listened closely. Marcus continued, "Sometimes people help each other because they care, not because they expect something back." He nodded politely and stepped away from the microphone. The crowd applauded again, but Marcus quickly left the stage, clearly wanting the moment to end. Angela watched him go, her heart heavy. She knew public recognition was not enough. Some conversations could only happen in private. Later that night, after most guests had left, Angela found Marcus outside near the parking area. The night air was quiet. City lights reflected on the empty street. Marcus stood leaning against a wall, looking at the sky. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Angela broke the silence. "I'm sorry." The words came out softly, without pride. Marcus nodded slowly, but did not look at her. "You already said enough inside." Angela shook her head. "No, not the important part. She took a deep breath. I was wrong. I thought success meant leaving everything behind. I didn't see what you were giving up. Marcus remained silent. His calmness made it harder for her to continue. I hurt you, she said quietly. After a long pause, Marcus finally spoke. Yes, he said honestly. You did. There was no anger in his voice. Only truth. Angela felt tears forming, but she did not look away. For the first time, she allowed herself to face the pain she had avoided for years. Marcus sighed softly, but I also understand why it happened. We were both chasing different things. He explained how, after she left, he spent years feeling lost. Not because of money or career, but because he had built his future around someone else's dream. When that dream disappeared, he had to learn who he was again. Helping people gave him purpose. It helped him heal. Angela listened quietly. She realized Marcus was no longer the man she once knew. He had grown stronger in a different way. I don't expect things to go back, she said carefully. I just wanted you to know the truth. Marcus finally looked at her. His expression softened slightly. I forgave you a long time ago, he said. The words surprised her. Then why does this still feel unfinished? Angela asked. Marcus smiled faintly. Because forgiveness doesn't mean the story continues the same way. The sentence stayed between them. Angela understood what he meant. Some relationships change forever. Not because love disappears, but because people become different. After a moment, Marcus added quietly, I'm leaving the city next week. Angela felt her chest tighten. Leaving? There's a community project in another state, he explained. They asked me to help build housing there. It's a long-term thing. The news felt heavier than she expected. For years, she thought Marcus would always be somewhere in the background of her life. Now, she realized he was truly moving forward without her. Angela nodded slowly, forcing herself to smile. That sounds like something you'd do. Marcus smiled back, gently. It feels right. Silence returned, but this time it was peaceful, not painful. Angela realized something important in that moment. She wanted Marcus to be happy, even if that happiness did not include her. As Marcus turned to leave, he paused. Thank you, he said quietly, for telling the truth tonight. Angela watched him walk away under the streetlights. For the first time in years, she felt both sadness and relief at the same time. The past had finally been spoken aloud. But one final chapter still remained. Because sometimes letting someone go is the last act of love. The morning Marcus was leaving, the city felt unusually quiet. Angela stood near the large window of her office, watching the streets below. Cars moved, people rushed to work, and life continued as usual. But for her, something important was ending. Or maybe something new was beginning. A week had passed since the charity gala. The news about her speech had spread everywhere. People praised her honesty. Many called it her most powerful moment. But Angela knew the real change was not public. It was personal. For the first time in many years, she stopped running from her past. Marcus's words stayed with her. Forgiveness doesn't mean the story continues the same way. At first, that truth hurt. She had secretly hoped that fixing the past might bring him back in her life. But slowly, she understood something deeper. Love does not always mean holding on. Sometimes it means letting someone walk their own path. Later that afternoon, Angela drove to the bus station where Marcus was preparing to leave. She did not tell him she was coming. She wasn't sure what she would say. She only knew she wanted to see him one last time before he left. Marcus stood near a small bag, talking to a few people from the community center who came to say goodbye. They hugged him, thanking him for everything he had done. Angela watched from a distance for a moment. This was who Marcus truly was, not defined by money or status, but by the lives he touched quietly. When Marcus noticed her, he smiled gently, surprised but not uncomfortable. I thought you'd be busy, he said. Angela smiled back. I was. I just decided this was more important. They stood together in comfortable silence. No tensión. No unfinished stange. Just two people who once shared a life and now understood each other better than before. I heard the project is big, Angela said. Marcus nodded. It is. A lot of families need homes. It might take years. Angela looked at him carefully. There was peace in his eyes, something she used to search for in success but never fully found. "I'm glad you found something that makes you happy," she said honestly. Marcus smiled. "I think I always had it. I just needed time to see it clearly." The announcement for departure echoed through the station. The moment had arrived. Angela felt a small ache in her chest, but this time she did not try to stop it. Some goodbyes were necessary. "I used to think success meant winning," she said quietly. "Now I think it means becoming someone you respect." Marcus looked at her with quiet pride. "You're getting there." They both laughed softly. Before leaving, Marcus hesitated for a second. Then he hugged her, not as a husband, not as someone returning, but as someone saying thank you for the chapter they once shared. It was simple, honest, final. As Marcus walked toward the bus, Angela watched without calling him back. She understood now that love had already done its job. It had changed both of them. The bus doors closed, and slowly it disappeared into traffic. Angela stood there for a long moment, feeling the wind move around her. Surprisingly, she did not feel empty. She felt calm. In the months that followed, Angela began changing her work. She invested more time in community programs, education projects, and housing initiatives, inspired by what she learned from Marcus. Not to fix guilt, but to live differently. People noticed the change. Her success continued, but now it carried purpose. Sometimes, late at night, Angela would remember their younger days, the small apartment, the shared dreams, the laughter. And instead of regret, she felt gratitude. Because some people enter your life not to stay forever, but to teach you who you are meant to become. And somewhere, in another city, Marcus continued building homes and helping strangers, never knowing how deeply his quiet kindness changed the woman he once loved. The story did not end with reunion. It ended with understanding. And sometimes, that is the most powerful ending of all.